What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of StrongShot Archery Reviews. Today, as you can see by the title and probably the reason you clicked on this video, we are going to be testing some Walmart arrows. Oh, no freaking way. I am extremely excited to try these things out, but first I want to explain the steps I'm going to be taking while reviewing these arrows, but nonetheless I'm super excited and I can't wait to put these to the test. So the first step is to test the actual quality of these arrows. I'm super curious to see that, whether they're boomerangs or whether they're incredibly straight for the price. I just want to see what these things actually are. Once we're done with that, we'll throw some 100 grain points on them, head to the range, and test out these arrows just out of the box. I want to see how they perform as if I took the arrows out of Walmart, put some points on, and headed to the range. Once we're done getting a baseline of how they perform at multiple distances, we're going to be tuning and messing with spine, bear shafts, nock tuning, everything possible to make these arrows fly and shoot as best as they possibly can. I have no clue how it's going to turn out. Maybe it'll be terrible, maybe it'll be good. So if I can shed some light on some cheaper options that will perform just as good, that is my goal. All right, enough of the chit chat. I'm gonna drag on way too much about my mission, but let's take out the spine and straightness tester and see how these arrows perform. For now, I'm just going to show the overall final converted scores. But if you'd like to see more in depth into the data, I can definitely go deeper in a separate video. Let me know down in the comments. When doing my test, this arrow came right around where I expected. For spine, the Kryptos get 3¼ stars. For straightness, they get 4¼ stars. And for consistency, they finish off with 3½ stars. Relative to the other arrows I've tested, this isn't looking too great. I would much prefer to spend a little bit more and get higher quality, but the numbers seem about right for such a low price. Once we compile the measurements and weigh them for importance, the Allen Kryptos get a total StrongShot quality score of 67. If we put them on the board with every arrow that I've reviewed, they place 14th out of the 17, just under the GoldTip Kinetic Chaos. I would have loved to see these arrows blow it out of the park, but they placed around where I would expect a $4 arrow to be. With all of this being said, let's try these arrows out and see how they perform without any tuning. All right, time to test out these arrows. About freaking time. I'm super excited. Let's get this. And that's 10 yards. So you guys have never seen my hunting setup before, but this is a Halon X. 70 pounds, cash money. Let's move back to 20. A little bit to the right. So I brought the wrong SD card, so the GoPro won't work, so you guys cannot see the target while I'm shooting. So I'm just gonna have to bring down this camera. It's just a pain in the butt. Money. It is a tiny bit windy, which is not preferred, but it is what it is. I deal with the conditions that I have, but I got that one into the 10. Still a little bit to the right. I need to click my sight a little bit, but let's take a look real quick. So that was a 10, a little bit low, but I'm gonna take it as is. I'm guessing that's 40. Guess we'll find out. Oh, that was so good. It's still a little bit to the right, but the arrow lifted up because there's a little bit too much nock pinch. And I like let down. I put the arrow back on. I pulled it all the way back, put it in the center, and just hammered the trigger, which you should not do, definitely not. But it's straight in the 10, a little bit to the right. But that's just freaking funny. I need to move my sight back. It's pretty dang centered for 40. Let's just take a look. All right, let's pull these arrows. Hopefully we can replicate that because that was so good. Oh man. These arrows might be just solid. I have no clue. Of course, my sample size is one arrow that went in the 10 from 40. I'm tempted to go back to 50, see how it goes, but I'm not sure. Okay, let's just continue, keep on getting those reps, build that sample size, and then we can make a conclusion on how it goes. And then we can try 100 yards, because I figured out that we can do that. What's your guys' bets on where it's gonna go? Okay, good. It's like in the 9 or 8. I thought it was in the 10. I saw the hole of the 10 that I shot before, and I thought it was in. But honestly, it's not too bad. With my hunting setup, I don't know. It's looking pretty good. Dang it! I moved it a little bit too high. Too low. Dang it, it's that first one was decent, then I moved my sight, then it went way too high, then I moved my sight again and went way too low. But other than that, the left right groupings aren't too bad, which I'm impressed because the arrow flight, when I paper tuned it with the vanes, was not great, so that means bear shafts weren't too good at either. Money. That was a bad shot by me. That felt good. It went a little bit low though. I am at 40 yards and it's hard to say how it's doing since I don't have anything to compare it to. I don't usually shoot at 40 yards. I usually shoot one of these at 55, but I'm shooting this at 40. So it's kind of hard to say on how it's performing. Maybe I should go back to 55 and compare it to what I'm used to. All right, so we just got it roughly sighted in at 55 yards. Let's see where it goes. I have no clue. Hopefully, I know it's probably gonna be on target, but if I get in the yellow, that will be surprising. Oh, just a little bit low. Come on. No freaking way. No freaking way. Hold up. Oh man, I think it's just a low 9. Hey, but it's in the yellow. Dang, so first arrow, second arrow. And then, well, actually, this is the first arrow, but this is the second arrow, then the third arrow. Oh, it's just a little bit low. Bad shot by me. I think at the high 10. Dang, I just missed the 10s with these arrows. I have to say, it's not the most forgiving arrow that I've ever shot, but it's doable. For $4, if you're on a budget, you can't afford high-end arrows, and you are looking into Walmart arrows, but you don't want to get crap arrows. These seem to be doable. I'm really curious to see how they'll perform after being super tuned, by messing with the spine, by messing with nock tuning, by messing with everything I can, making sure it's flying perfect. Oh, it's just a low 10. So the arrows are angled downward and the nock is in the X from just like first look, but the arrow is tilted down into a 10 liner. So gosh dang it. Low 9. No, high 9. I can't tell if the problem's me or the arrow. Another low 10. No. I think it was a little bit high. Maybe the arrow tilted down and it's in that. Wait, did I do it? Wait. Hold up. Oh man, it's a liner. But I did it. I got that X. Holy crap. But look at that vertical variation. That is, I cannot tell if that's me or the arrows. For $4 arrows, I'm happy with that. We can start moving back to 100 yards, which is going to be insane. All right, guys. So we're at 100 yards right now. It's not officially sighted in, so give me a little bit of time to get it in the center. But I'm gonna shoot at 100 yards now. Yep, in the 6. Oh, I hate how long it takes for the arrow to get to the target. It makes me think I missed. No freaking way. Wait, okay, hold up. We gotta go down there. I think I did. Why do I always shoot in that same hole? Same exact spot. Look at that. Let me take out these other arrows. Dang. I'm honestly... Now it's all about repeating it, which I don't think I'll be able to do, but let's try it. So this was the outlier right here. But anyways, I shot 2 9s. All right, so here are the groupings. What on earth? How? There's honestly no words I have, because these are $4 arrows. People spend so much money to get the highest quality arrows, and I'm shooting this size group at 100 yards. Maybe I'm just getting lucky, who knows, but I'm super excited to test when these things are actually tuned. Shooting this good at 100 yards with Walmart freaking arrows. How? What is up, guys? Welcome to the archery office. Today we're going to be super tuning the Walmart arrows. A video similar to this where I tested out a $300 budget bow. I kind of skipped over my tuning process and I didn't let you guys in on the steps I took to get that bow at that high level. So I'm not going to make that mistake again, and I'm going to give you guys some pointers on how you can get your arrows at the level that these are going to be. If you don't want to get any tips or pointers on how to get your arrows to the next level, don't worry, you can go to this time right here and you can skip to the second and final testing day. But if you want to learn how to improve your setup, we're going to start that right now. Let's talk arrow spine. Everybody's heard of it, but what does it mean and why does it even matter? In its simplest form, spine is how much the arrow flexes. You'll often hear me talking about my spine tester. This is a precise measuring tool where I place the arrow and apply a standard weight to the middle of the shaft. The dial in the center tells us how much the arrow bends in thousandths of an inch. This is what gives us the standard spine that you'll see on arrow shafts. So your 300 spine arrow should bend 300 thousandths of an inch, and your 350 spine arrow should bend 350 thousandths of an inch. Again, this is determined by a standard weight and a standard arrow length. But let's talk about what happens when you're actually shooting. Once your release fires, a large amount of force is applied to the nock to start pushing the arrow forward. This happens so quickly that the arrow point resists the sudden acceleration and begins to bend the arrow. To put this into extremes, imagine having a pool noodle on the ground with some object in front of it. When you kick the back of the pool noodle, the object up front acts as resistance and bends the pool noodle. The heavier the object, the more the noodle will bend before the object starts moving. A similar thing is happening to the actual arrow. So the more point weight, the more the arrow will bend. The weight of the vanes, bushing, and nock act as resistance and slow the arrow down, but they don't result in more arrow flex. It's more like having your foot on the brake. The one last factor that I'll talk about is the actual length of the arrow. This is simple. The longer the arrow shaft, the weaker it'll be. The shorter, the stiffer it'll be. So not only does the spine of the arrow shaft determine how much the arrow bends, but so do the components on the arrow. This means we can adjust the arrow spine by messing with the length of the arrow as well as the front and rear components. So when we talk about arrow forgiveness, what we're looking for is having the right amount of energy from the bow being absorbed by the arrow, which you'll see as flex. If the arrow absorbs too much energy, then your setup is underspined and the arrow won't be able to recover fast enough from the extreme forces. If your arrow doesn't absorb enough energy, then you're overspined and it may accelerate too far off path before the vanes can straighten it out. In both cases, you'll be fighting against your equipment and bad shots will result in misses that are worse than they need to be. When you find a setup when the bad shots don't go as bad as you expect, then you have a forgiving setup. Let's talk nock tuning, which was a key part of my Walmart arrow tuning process. These arrows varied a lot in their 360-degree spine. This means that it's extremely important to have the arrows indexed correctly. Let me explain what I mean with a clip from another arrow review that I did. And one of those measurements is the 360-degree variance in spine. Every arrow is going to have a stiff and weak side. The bigger the variance between these sides, the harder it is to match a set of arrows. My methods favor arrows that have less of a variance from side to side, because they'll be easier to match, especially when you're buying pre-fletched arrows and you might be stuck with shooting them the way they come. So for this portion of the spine score, you need an arrow whose stiff and weak spine are relatively close together. So let's take a look at how this might play out. Here is a 300 spine arrow shaft with a stiff side of 298 and a weak side of 304. This is a moderate variance in spine. The orientation of these points affect the flight of the arrow and how the arrow exits the bow. So let's say you have a spine variance of 10, which is fairly large. So your vane's positioning strongly affects the arrow's flight. And if all your arrows are in a different orientation, that's when you get variances that have nothing to do with your form or execution. It's the arrows. And in this case with the Allen Kryptos, the variance between the stiff and weak side of the arrows was a lot. So what we are doing by nock tuning is shooting the arrows as bear shafts and rotating each arrow's nock until all of them share the same exact arrow flight. We then adjust our rest so all of them will be bullet holes. For the people that aren't familiar, a bear shaft is an arrow without the vanes, and you might be wondering why I tune with bear shafts. Well, the vanes act as a correcting tool for the arrow. As soon as the arrow starts heading towards the target, the vanes are quickly correcting any issues in the flight. So if there are issues in the tuning or in the technique of the shot, they'll be dampened by the fletchings. So by removing the vanes, it will show you the honest truth about your form and setup. This is a great tool for tuning and perfecting your form. All right, guys, so we are at the range right now. Time to test out the new arrows. I've been kind of sighting in. I've been backing my way up since they are different weighted arrows now. I think I'm at 35 yards right now. Let's take a shot. Boom, just a high X or a high 10, I believe. Let's back up and shoot again. Boom. Oh, that's a good shot. So even though that one was in the X, I'm going to move my sight to the right because it consistently has been there. I think this one might have shot to the left a little bit, and that's why it's in the X right now. But I'm gonna make that adjustment, move back to 55, and then we can finally see how this compares to last time. Now that's the X I'm looking for right there. Let me just pull this 8 out real quick. That's pretty dang solid. 55 yards. Forgot to move my sight. That's not too shabby. Usually I'm not that bad at sighting in. It took forever. I shot a high X, I think. Looks like it. I really do love that spot. It's that hole right here. Okay, 10, 10, 9. And that's with my sight off. All right, let's officially score it now that we have it sighted in, and let's see how it does. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I'm talking about. It felt like a mediocre shot and it still went in there. Before I did this setup, it was not shooting like that. It did not have that forgiveness. A little bit left, I felt that one. That did not deserve to be that close to the 10. I wish you guys could like feel my perspective on it and like how the shots are feeling relative to where the arrows are going. It's absurd. Is that another left? No, that looks in. Cash money. Oh my gosh. It's doing so much better than before. All right, so I have to give some credit to these arrows because in the first day, it did shoot good. I shot about, I'd say, was it like grapefruit size groups or was it just like the size of my hand? But look at that vertical variation. That is, I cannot tell if that's me or the arrows. I forget, but let's take a look at the group now. Look at this. Look at how ridiculous this is. Boom, right there. That is the power of tuning. And like I said before, the shots aren't feeling perfect. The first day, the shots were definitely not feeling perfect either, and I was shooting, and I was surprised by how good they were performing. But I remember at 55 yards or 50 meters, it was shooting all right, but now it's shooting at like a competition level. I don't know, I'm just impressed. All right, so that one was not the best end, as you can tell. No, even with that end where I didn't shoot the best, I still feel good about the arrows. First round was a 29, the second round was a 28. Now this is the third round. That one felt pretty good, might be a little bit to the right. Nope, that's money. See, it's forgiving my mistakes. Might be a little bit to the left. Nope, they're stacking in there. I'm gonna say it over and over. They just feel better. A little bit high, but still in the 10. I don't know what to say. People put so much money into buying these insane arrows when you can do this with Walmart arrows at 50 meters. Put in the work, put in the effort, and you will see the results, even with Walmart arrows. Didn't feel great either. Now the question is, did that one on the left get in? I'm not fully sure. It frickin' did. Oh my gosh. No scope or anything. Walmart arrows, hunting setup. I don't know what to say. Tuning, that's all I have to say. Tuning. Just slow. I think that might still be in. A little bit high. Boom! I'm pretty sure. If I just had my form together for those first two ends, I'd have a 150 right now. Tuning your arrows. You saw the difference. I had hand-sized groups or grapefruit-sized groups. Look at it now. So that was a 30 for a 147. 100 yards. Shot low. Yeah, and that's where it went. Getting fatigued. Okay, I'm gonna run down, get those, run back. Good shot. Let's go down and take a look. Ignore this arrow. This one did not feel the best. I had a little bit of torque, but look at that. If only I could retry this arrow. Walmart arrows. Not too shabby. All right, I have to say this video is probably one of the funnest videos that I've been able to do. It was challenging and it provided some fascinating results. First of all, let's talk about these arrows prior to tuning. They came out with a StrongShot quality score of 67, but they still performed decently well. There was definitely a difference in quality that I noticed when shooting, but I honestly was surprised by how well they performed for being only $4. But this is nothing compared to what I found for forgiveness. On the first day, I had nothing to compare these arrows to, so I compared them to my preconceptions of how they would perform. The second day was something else, because it really shed some light on the importance of forgiveness and tuning. By that point, I was already used to the first day where the arrows were punishing me for small mistakes. So when the arrows were pounding the 10, even with having mediocre shots, I was absolutely blown away. You could really see the difference at 55 yards or 50 meters. On the first day, I was getting extremely vertical groupings, but once they got tuned up to perfection, I was getting apple-sized groupings. This further proved how important arrow tuning is in the process of setting up your equipment. Even if your bow is set up perfectly, if your arrows are not working in harmony with your bow, it's not going to be at its highest potential. One thing to note was the groupings at 100 yards. I honestly didn't see too much of a difference, and I think this is just because of luck. There were blatant differences at 55 yards, but no differences at 100. So I'm going to say that this is the result of chance. But with all of this being said, these $4 Walmart arrows performed way above my expectations. If you have a low budget, these could definitely work, but I would look into upgrading sometime in the future. Just put in the extra effort to have your setup work in harmony. This can enormously improve your accuracy and forgiveness. If you enjoyed this video and want more videos just like this, don't forget to subscribe and share the video. I think a lot of people could learn from this as well as save a lot of money, so make sure to share the video with a buddy. Plus, it helps support these videos. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.